The knock on my door at exactly 5 a.m. wasn't gentle, it wasn't polite, it was desperate. I remember staring at the ceiling of my tiny Chicago apartment half asleep, wondering who in the world would show up at that hour. When I opened the door, I wasn't prepared for what I saw. Standing there barefoot on the cold concrete hallway floor, still wearing yesterday's designer coat and with mascara streaked down her face, was Victoria Hale, my CEO, newly divorced, one of the most powerful women in Illinois, and she looked completely shattered. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of unexpected connections, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the most powerful moments happen when we least expect them. Victoria wasn't the kind of woman people imagine crying. She was sharp, commanding, always perfectly composed in boardrooms filled with men twice her age. I was just a mid-level financial analyst at Hale Industries. My name is Michael Carter, 32 years old, divorced for 3 years, raising a 7-year-old son named Noah. My life was spreadsheets, daycare pickups, and reheated dinners. Her life was private jets and shareholder meetings. Or so I thought. That morning, everything I believed about strength and status changed. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. Her perfume, usually crisp and confident, was faint under the smell of rain and exhaustion. Outside, the Chicago skyline was still dark, the first hint of dawn barely brushing the horizon. Inside my apartment, the only light came from the kitchen stove clock blinking 5:02 a.m. She looked around at the modest space. The couch with a worn blanket folded neatly, Noah's toy dinosaurs lined up by the TV, the framed crayon drawing taped proudly on the fridge. Her gaze softened for a second before her composure cracked again. Victoria Hale, worth hundreds of millions, had nowhere else to go. 3 months earlier, news of her divorce from her husband, Richard Hale, had flooded every business column in the country. The power couple had built an empire together, or at least that's what the headlines said. What the headlines didn't show were the rumors of control, of quiet emotional battles behind glass office walls. I had noticed subtle changes in her over the last year. The sharpness in meetings had turned brittle, the long pauses when she thought no one was looking. Once, after a tense quarterly review, I saw her sitting alone in the conference room, staring out at Lake Michigan like she was searching for something she couldn't name, but she was still the CEO, untouchable. Until that morning. She finally spoke, her voice raw and barely above a whisper, confessing that she had signed everything away the night before. The penthouse, the vacation house in Aspen, even partial control of the company. She said she couldn't fight anymore. She was tired of pretending the marriage hadn't been slowly suffocating her for years. What shocked me most wasn't the divorce. It was why she came to me. She said she remembered something I told her months ago during a late night at the office. I had stayed behind to finish a presentation because Noah had a school field trip the next morning, and I couldn't risk losing my job. She had asked why I looked so exhausted. I told her the truth, that being a single father was the hardest thing I had ever done, but also the only thing that gave my life meaning after my own divorce. I had said that sometimes losing everything forces you to find who you really are. Apparently, she never forgot that. She told me she didn't know who she was without her husband's shadow looming over every decision. For years, she had allowed him to take credit publicly, to negotiate deals behind her back to undermine her confidence. When she finally filed for divorce, she thought she would feel powerful. Instead, she felt hollow. The sun began rising slowly, painting the walls with soft gold. My son's bedroom door creaked open, and Noah walked out rubbing his eyes, confused by the unexpected visitor. Victoria quickly wiped her face, instinctively trying to look composed. Noah smiled shyly and offered her one of his toy dinosaurs, as if sensing she needed something simple and kind. That moment broke whatever wall she had left. I made coffee. She sat at the small kitchen table that barely fit 4 chairs, staring at the steam rising from her mug like it held answers. She confessed she had driven around for hours after signing the divorce papers. She passed her old house but couldn't bring herself to go inside. Her friends were all connected to the same social circle that had quietly sided with her ex-husband. Her family lived in California and thought she was invincible, so she came to the only person who had once admitted he felt broken and survived it. I wasn't sure I was qualified to give advice to a CEO about rebuilding her life. I was still rebuilding mine. My ex-wife had left when Noah was 4, saying she couldn't handle the financial instability of my career path. I had worked 2 jobs for a year to stabilize things. I missed birthdays. I cried in my car more times than I could count. But slowly, painfully, I built a rhythm. Morning pancakes, Friday movie nights, little traditions that stitched us back together. Victoria listened as I shared that healing doesn't look glamorous. It looks like grocery shopping alone for the first time. It looks like signing school forms without someone else's name next to yours. It looks like waking up at 5 a.m. and choosing to keep going. The irony wasn't lost on me. She had knocked on my door at 5 a.m., and here we were talking about survival at dawn. Over the next few weeks, something unexpected happened. She didn't return to being the untouchable executive overnight. She showed up to the office quieter, more observant. She began delegating differently. She apologized publicly during one meeting for dismissing a junior employee's idea months earlier. People were stunned. At home, she started small. She rented a modest townhouse in Lincoln Park instead of another penthouse. She adopted a golden retriever named Jasper because she said she needed something that loved without conditions. She asked me once how I managed loneliness. I told her honestly that some nights were still hard, but loneliness loses its power when you stop running from it. Our relationship shifted from employee and CEO to something deeper, not romantic at first, but human. 2 people who understood what it meant to have your life rearranged without permission. There were rumors, of course. There are always rumors. But what mattered was the transformation I witnessed. The woman who arrived at my door barefoot and broken began standing taller in her own skin. She renegotiated company policies to support working parents. She introduced mental health days. She told her story at a leadership conference, admitting publicly that success doesn't protect you from pain. One evening, nearly a year after that morning knock, she invited Noah and me to a small company event celebrating a new partnership. The same board members who once whispered about her emotional instability were now praising her strategic vision. After the event, as the city lights reflected off the Chicago River, she stood beside me quietly. She confessed that the 5 a.m. knock wasn't just desperation, it was hope. She had seen in my ordinary life something she never had in her extraordinary one: authenticity. I realized then that sometimes the most powerful confession isn't romantic. It's admitting you're afraid. It's admitting you don't know who you are without the title, without the marriage, without the applause. And here's something I never expected to confess myself. That morning changed me too. I stopped seeing myself as just a single dad trying to survive. I began seeing myself as someone capable of helping another person stand up again. Victoria didn't need saving. She needed reminding. 2 years later, we did begin dating. Slowly, carefully. Not because she needed me, and not because I needed her status, but because we had witnessed each other at our lowest. Our foundation wasn't built on power or wealth. It was built on a 5 a.m. knock and a kitchen table conversation while the sun rose over Chicago. Life didn't become perfect. There were challenges, blending schedules, managing public scrutiny, protecting Noah from media attention. But we faced them with honesty instead of ego. Before I close this story, I want to ask you something special. Comment the word hope if you believe even the strongest people need someone to lean on sometimes. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that titles and money mean nothing without humanity, please like this video, share it with someone who might need encouragement today, and subscribe for more stories that celebrate resilience and second chances. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them most, because sometimes the most life-changing moments don't happen in boardrooms or courtrooms. They happen at 5 a.m. when someone powerful knocks on an ordinary door and finds the courage to finally say, "I don't want to be strong anymore." And sometimes, opening that door changes both lives forever.